world's most famous arena is the perfect stage for a couple of hockey's brightest stars. We get you set for the Oilers and Rangers on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the pregame show. Tom Gazzola, Hernan, Salas with you live inside the EST Global HQ. Matt Cassian, our game analyst, will be joining us shortly with Game Changers. We'll also be catching up with Colin Stevenson from Newsday to get the scoop on the New York Rangers. Of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Join the conversation. Hit us up on the text line, 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat on YouTube. Hernan, you might have noticed some
what's going on, Tom?
Tomfoolery
yes.
in the nasty chat prior to us starting the show. If you're watching on YouTube, to all of you listening, perhaps on your drive somewhere, maybe you're making dinner. I don't know. If you're listening on iHeart, TuneIn, EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. Here's what's happening. Some of the nasties are telling lies, chanting, Paulie's better, lying to themselves and to everybody around them about the MVP of the Heavy Hockey Showdown, one Paulie Bartholomew Adam Gazzola, who had a couple of nice goals, fell down a couple of times, undisturbed, but somehow winds up the MVP of the tournament. Whatever makes you guys feel good about yourselves, go right ahead. I know Paulie's walking a little bit taller.
Who selected the MVP?
I don't know, but they were clearly not paying attention.
And they're booing you and saying, traitor. What happened?
That was not my call. I sacrificed myself. I started on our EST squad.
Okay.
In between games, Mike Crosby, who was the assistant coach, came in, made a trade. I wasn't the first, second, third, or fourth pick in the trade. Apparently, a bunch of our guys had no movement clauses, including Sean Bell.
Ew.
So I was the guy that had to reluctantly go. And guess what? We almost won when I was on the other team, on the heavy hockey team.
Interesting.
I just want to say, on a more serious note, though, absolutely tremendous work by the guys and girls from Heavy Hockey, the Heavy Hockey Network, the guys and girls over at SACE, the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. They have been dealing with some funding shortfalls. They had some government funding pulled recently. It was a gut punch, but the nasties, just people in our community, stepped up. And last I heard, they were somewhere around 30,000. Started the day on Friday around 19,000, if I remember correctly, from Michael and Dash. And I think by the time we wrapped up and the buzzer went, it was getting close to 30,000. I know the funding goal is 50,000. Hopefully there was a little bit more that came in, but just a tip of the cap to everybody involved, because it was an awesome event. Belzy and I were on location for Hello Hockey, and we had Berkey on. We had Benny's Blind Rankings. We scrambled to get things done. Shout out to Dash in the park for making sure we had a table, chairs, coffee, water. It was an MVP performance by Dash and everybody involved yesterday. So great job, everybody. To all who donated, thank you so much. Coach Pete, Mike, and Pizza Boy, who won the auction to coach both teams. You guys are great, and we really, really appreciate it. So well done. The Nasties, EST, Heavy Hockey, doing some good work for SACE, the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. I just want to say that was tremendous. And Reed Wilkins came up yesterday, Hernan.
Yeah, I saw Iwanek was there.
Iwanek was coaching. No suit this year.
Oh, okay.
Fancy pants. Nice pullover.
That's amazing. Yeah, it looked like a great time. I couldn't make it, but I know we're going to run some clips tomorrow with Coop's shootout attempts, so we're going to have some fun with that. Yeah.
He was on Global, his shootout goal.
That's awesome. Good for him. Good for Coop.
It was a great time, as always, and I played, I think, 3 games in the last 2 days. My back is on fire. I'm getting old.
My back just hurts. I didn't do anything, Tom.
My goodness. We'll see if the Oilers' backs hurt. Draisaitl's, McDavid's carrying the other 16 skaters. Ouch. Throw on 2 goalies on top of that. Ouch, indeed.
That hurts.
Ouch, that hurts. Stealing a segment from the Nielsen show, but the Oilers wrapping up this 4-game road trip in New York City at MSG. Edmonton 38-24 for the Rangers, 33-28-6. It is game 67 for the Orange and Blue. Let's get into starting lineups. Brought to you by South Fort Chev. We're officially in truck month, which comes with deeper discounts, lower interest rates on Silverados and HDs. 0% for up to 72 months on Silverado Custom and Custom Trail Boss. The Silverado is built in Canada. 90-day payment deferral or $10K cash back with the purchase of a new vehicle. Conditions do apply. See dealer for details at www.southfortchev.com. Drive a little, save a lot at South Fort Chev. For the Oilers, a couple of little notes here. Expecting the same group of players to go tonight. Zach Hyman expected to line up with McDavid and Henrique on the top line. He is a game-time decision, but he should be able to go. I know he was nicked up on Long Island the other day. Leon Draisaitl between Corey Perry and Connor Brown. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with Vasily Podkolzin and Victor Arvidsson. Janmark sliding back to center. Apparently, Kasperi Kapanen sub-40 winning percentage on the faceoff dot. Not good enough because he slides over to the wing. Janmark to center. Skinner is still in the lineup, which is good. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Wallman paired up with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Emberson. We're not expecting Max Jones. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
I thought you were.
I was just, I was just giggling that you said, and Skinner remains in.
Well, no.
Yeah, I got a good feeling about this.
You do. You were very confident earlier. Very confident.
They've won a couple games down there at MSG. As if I'm correct,
you are correct.
The Rangers won yesterday.
In Columbus.
I just think they're prime right now. They're prime for the taking. So the Oilers are going to win big tonight. You heard it here first.
You heard it from Hernan, the Latino Heat Salas. We will get to the question. You have a question of the night?
I have like a ton. I just haven't settled on one yet.
All right. Yeah. Well, you have all of the Rangers lineup and the injury report to settle on one. Cass is coming up in a few minutes here. Here's what we're anticipating from the New York Rangers, who, like we said, did play in Columbus, 1-4 zip. Rangers winners of back-to-back games. Trocheck between Panarin and Cooley. This is how they rolled things out last night. JT Miller with Alexis Lafreniere and Mika Zibanejad. Sam Carrick, the former Oiler, between Chris Kreider and Brett Berard. Johnny Brodzinski with Brennan Othman and Matt Rempe. Keandre Miller, I like this D pairing. Keandre Miller with Will Borgen. I thought Will Borgen would have been an excellent Oiler. Just a very solid right shot D-man. He's been in the league for a little while. Rangers trade for him with Seattle. The Rangers re-up him, give him an extension. I thought that was a sneaky good trade and signing. So Miller and Borgen together. Urho Vakanainen, one of the great names in the NHL, paired up with Adam Fox. Zach Jones with Braden Schneider. Calvin DeHaan, Carson Soucy, Juuso Parssinen expected to be out of the lineup. If things change, we will update you when the teams hit the ice for warm-up. Your starting goalies for tonight confirmed. 26-year-old Stu Skinner, 22, 17, and 4, 288 goals against average, 896 save percentage. With 2 shutouts in 45 games this year, Skinner 2-1-0 versus the Rangers' lifetime 267 GA, 920 save percentage in 3 games against New York. At the other end of the rink, we thought it would be Jonathan Quick, who's faced the Oilers 44 times in his career. However, it is going to be the 29-year-old Igor Shesterkin. Shesterkin 23, 22, and 4, 279 GA, 907 save percentage, 5 shutouts in 49 games this season. 1-1 with a 388 GAA, 869 save percentage in 2 games against Edmonton over the course of his career. If you were paying this guy $11.5 million going forward per year, and he was 23 and 22 with 4 OTLs, almost at 3 GAA, just above 9. Well, he's 907 save percentage. That's not $11.5 million per.
That's tough,
performance and numbers.
Very tough.
No bueno, as we like to say. All right, the Advanced Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy Injury Report coming up. At Advanced Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. If you have a nagging pain you would like to see go away, book your consultation today at www.advantagesportsmed.ca. For the Oilers, Matthias Ekholm, day-to-day, lower body. John Klingberg, day-to-day, undisclosed. Trent Frederick, IR, ankle. Alec Regula, IR, knee. Evander Kane, LTIR, abdominal surgery and knee surgery. As for the New York Rangers, Arthur Kaliev, day-to-day, upper body. Hernan, Salas, we do have Matt Cassian just about ready to go, but I do want to get to the question of the night. What you got for us, brother?
Yeah, I was going to go Skinner, but we've been down that road. I don't think you, I, or Cass are surprised are going to Skinner. I know a lot of our nasties are not happy, but...
Pickard played great.
Yeah, we won't go with that.
Played great.
I think if they win tonight too, Tom, like they go 2-2, you'll take it. You probably wanted a little bit better on this road trip, but you'll take 2-2, just the way the team's playing. So the question is, 16 games left in the season. They're currently third in the Pacific, 1 point back of the Kings, and 6 back of the Vegas Golden Knights. Of the remaining 16 games, for you, Cass, and all our nasties out there, how many wins do you want to see from the Oilers in the final stretch here to make you feel confident going into round one?
Text us, 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat as well. 16, Hernan. I don't know. I think 10 would be great. I think 10 would reinstill some confidence in the fan base.
Is there a number, though, that you're kind of like,
you need more than 8 for sure. 10 would be...
Yeah, you can't go
solid.
500.
Right? No, you can't go 500.
500 would be...
Sub 500 would be...
Zulu says 12.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Steve says, want to see 10. What will we see? 7. Not confident.
Ooh. Keep those coming in. Bookkeeper Bill actually got in here before we started the show. Bookkeeper Bill from Ottawa says, this team and coaching staff is missing one thing. Conviction. Conviction to keep the set 4 lines all game. No crutch line unless down 2 max goals and 10 minutes left in third. Conviction to sit a top player making glaring errors, hurting the team. Conviction to play hard, physical, and focus on defense and details. Bookkeeper Bill also adds 12 of 16, nothing less than 10. I like it, Bookkeeper Bill. Conviction. He said that and sent that text in with conviction. Let's bring in Matt Cassian. He's ready to go. At his satellite studios in Sherwood Park. Good evening, Cass. Are you wearing a party cardi? Do you have yourself muted? Look at you. Oh, Cass. Nope, can't figure it out. We'll get him reconnected. Do you have him muted, Hernan? Oh, you don't. It's Cass. Okay, we'll get that sorted out. Keep those texts coming in. 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat. The question of the night brought to you by Hernan Salas says, how many wins do you want to see the Oilers get, or do you think would be good in the last 16 games? Naughty Possum chiming in says 12 wins possible. Looking forward at schedule. Lots of winnable games. Yeah, especially in April. A lot of San Jose. I think Anaheim's in there again. More LA. I think Vegas is in there. There are games that need to be won in the latter part of the season. You get Utah coming up on Tuesday. The Winnipeg game is going to be a tough one. You have Seattle coming up. You got another date with Dallas. Seattle again. Battle of Alberta. Get Vegas another time. Some good ones and some winnable ones for sure. Cass, thumbs up if you think you're ready. Do we have you?
I think so.
Oh, there he is. Oh, look at that. Joaquin Gage just walked in for some reason.
That's awesome that he did. That's weird. That's the second day in a row it's done that. Kind of weird. It wasn't muted. Hello, Gager. Hey. Good to see you off camera.
He's here. Trust us.
Yeah.
We're not just pointing and waving at nobody. Cass, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, party cardi, as you said, got that going here too. It's cold in the basement. A little chilly, so I wanted to stay warm there, buddy.
A little blast of winter before we dive into spring. I know the temperatures are going to be better. Hey, how about this question of the night from Hernan? 16 games left. I know it's been a little bit tough sledding for the Oilers. They are coming off a win that they eked out on Long Island the other night, which was great. We had a great time at Boston Pizza Westgate, by the way. Shout out to everybody that was there. I think 10 is a good number. 12 would be great, but I'm not so sure that they could pull that off with the way they're playing. What do you think when it comes to the question of the night?
Yeah, my first thought was 12, and then I'm like, well, that might be slightly unrealistic. That would make me confident and comfortable heading in. But I'll dial it back a little bit and go with 11. We'll dial it way back from 12. Like, I think 11 and 5. If you had that, or a combination of wins and losses and OT, whatever that gets you to that point range, I think that's a good spot. You probably are locking up second in the division. Who knows? Maybe you have a chance at first. If Vegas really stumbles and you win your game that you have against them, it's a possibility. But yeah, that would make me feel a heck of a lot better based on how they've played recently.
Yeah. The Oilers, as of today, 1 point back of LA, as Hernan mentioned, 6 back of the Golden Knights. They do play Vegas one more time, and they do have a game in hand with the Golden Knights. Vegas 5-3-2 in its last 10. Same with LA. Edmonton 4-6. In the last 10. As we roll into Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Damon Bunting, consistent, top producing realtor in the greater Edmonton area for over 17 years. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. So check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Cast number 1 tonight. I'm not desperate. You're desperate.
Yeah. Battle of the desperate teams, big, huge win for the New York Rangers over the Columbus Blue Jackets, and quite a dominant win as well to crawl into that wild card position. But here, I think two teams that are desperate for a win. New York, now that they have scratched and clawed their way back into a playoff spot, they're not going to want to let that go, Tom. They want to be in the playoffs. They want to find a way to continue to win here. And realistically, Columbus and Montreal both have a game in hand in them right now. So if Columbus wins, they are tied, and I can't remember who has a tiebreaker. I think if it was regulation, Columbus might have it. No, New York would have it. I just pulled it up here.
You got it there,
yeah, New York would have the tiebreaker. Montreal, 66 games back a point. So if they win, they will then take that wild card position. So New York absolutely fighting for their lives, playing some desperate hockey and starting to play some better hockey recently too. And for the Edmonton Oilers, you finally get a win, and wasn't a perfect win, but you get a win at least. And so you have a chance for the Edmonton Oilers to desperately salvage this road trip here and end up 500 potentially, as opposed to going 1-3, which would be completely unacceptable, and going 2-2. Still not really acceptable, but it's a little more palpable from a road trip standpoint. But two desperate teams, Tom, and who's going to play like it matters more here? For the Edmonton, you're getting New York on a back-to-back with travel. You've been sitting there. It's not like you had long travel coming off the island, so you've been sitting there fresh without much travel, ready to go. And what type of desperation are you going to play with? Like, are we going to see an Edmonton Oilers team that is bringing energy and life, or are we going to just kind of see a little of the flat Edmonton Oilers that have plagued them? So, it's a tale of two desperate teams here, and we're going to see who wants it more.
I want to follow this up with how you regard the New York Rangers, because this was the President's Trophy winners last year. I know they were kind of like a disrespected President's Trophy winners. Remember, we would talk about that a little bit going into the playoffs last season. And then you trade your captain, you bring back JT Miller, you make some other moves, you bring in guys at the deadline. By the way, oddly enough, we're not going to see the deadline guys. Dahan, Susi, and I think it's Parsonen are likely out tonight. We'll see what it looks like when they hit the ice for warm-up at MSG. But this Rangers team is befuddling, to me at least, Cass, because they're supposed to be so good, and they have great players on paper.
Yeah.
But something's not right, it feels like.
Well, it's felt like that all year. Something's not right. They just haven't been able to get it going from, DJ Zbad, my boy, who has really struggled offensively, and Mika Zibanejad has not had the type of year he typically has, and he's been better since Miller arrived. Started to produce a little bit more. They moved him to the wing, and it seems to have helped out his game a little bit. But as a whole, they've been just incredibly inconsistent for a team that's got a great goalie, that had some really good, or still has some really good defensemen, and has some really good offensive players too. It's like you expected them to be in the mix, but they just haven't been. So it's hard to say without watching them on a night in and night out basis where the biggest disconnect is. But Tommy, a group that certainly has not, even if they exceeded expectations last year, they have not met them this year, not even close.
No, that's so true. The stat I looked at was, when I was looking at Shesterkin's numbers, I know he signed that monster extension, $11.5 million per year coming up here for the 29-year-old, but Cass, he's 23, 22, and 4. 279 goals against average, 907 save percentage. He got the shutout yesterday. He is playing again today. We thought it would be Quick, who's faced Edmonton almost 50 times in his career, owns the Oilers. I know Quick's 39, but that's the first one I look at. I'm like, boy, like Shesterkin's numbers, the win-loss stat is kind of glaring for a guy like that. I know it doesn't tell us everything, but geez, kind of unacceptable, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of unacceptable. And you wonder how much of that is he gets a long contract and he's kind of like, I'm good. Right? Like,
I hate that, but you're right.
I hate that too, but there's a possibility that that's kind of the mentality where it's just like, yeah, I got it, right? I'm good. Mm-hmm. You hope that's not it, but again, without watching them frequently, it's hard to say exactly what it is. Now, I think the team around him hasn't helped much. Like if we look at their team play and team production as a whole, they haven't helped much, but certainly his play factors into it. And it becomes that massive cap hit for a goaltender becomes a little bit, a little bit more painful. I mean, if you look at that really, and I always say, and Gager, I think agrees with me, is that like ideally your two goalies, so both your starter and your backup can't go over about 10% of your cap. Like to me, that's like if your goalies combined are over 10% of your cap, you start running into issues. Like gets pretty dicey after that. And I mean, you have over that in one guy for the New York Rangers. So yeah, a little interesting with Mr. Shesterkin and how he has struggled this year.
Oh, when you just said, I wonder if it's a little bit of I'm good, I was like, oh, yeah, that creeps into the back of your mind. Aiden Hill re-upping with the Golden Knights, by the way. Good for him. Really good guy living in Calgary. Spent some time working hockey schools with him. So I'm happy for him, Cass, and hopefully he doesn't have that same mentality. He's looking good with Vegas, who did lose today, by the way. All right. Point number 1 was, I'm not desperate. You're desperate. Point number 2 on Game Changers, Leon's landscaping, Cass.
Yeah, his back's got to hurt, doesn't it? Right now. Yeah. Just pulled landscaping duty and has been on landscaping duty this entire last month, just carrying the blocks.
My fingers hurt.
Yeah. Now your back is going to... Actually, funny story about that. Hurt. I say that to my girls all the time. Like if they ever complain, like if we're going somewhere and they're like, my legs hurt, I don't want to walk. I'm like, well, now your back is going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. And my wife was at the gym. She's I wouldn't say a little bit of a gym rat, but she loves going to the gym. And so she's at a gym and she does CrossFit, and she's not crazy, but she does love it, and it's good, great gym. But she had our daughter there, my youngest, and who was just kind of sitting and hanging out while she was, after the workout, was talking to people. My wife was, and one of the ladies there was just like, oh man, my shoulder hurts after that workout. And my daughter, the 4-year-old, just turns to him and says, well, now your back is going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Because I say it to them all the time. So I love that. I've shown them that scene. They haven't seen the whole movie. I've shown them that scene because you gotta raise them right. But
they might not be ready for the whole movie.
No, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. But just for that clip
and innocent.
Yeah, just for that clip.
Yeah.
But for Leon, I mean, he has been on landscaping duty. Like he's no other Edmonton Oilers forward the last couple games has a goal. He is the only one, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like from a production standpoint, I know McDavid has had his issues. He gets some assists and helps win the game with Leon, but just as a whole, that forward group, Tom, unacceptable in terms of not being able to find any kind of production, and at times not finding any kind of threatening production, like not even high danger chances. And when they have, you go back to the game like against Buffalo, they just miss or hit the post. But when I look at this and you look at some of the primary guys, but if we're looking at and who knows if Hyman plays tonight, but Zach Hyman hasn't found a way to produce. Connor Brown hasn't found a way to produce. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins not producing. Arvidsson not producing. Podkolzin not producing. All these guys that you need to find ways to score, even if it's not every single night, just have it the last number of games. And it's needs to be someone different every night, right? It doesn't have to be the same guy every night, but they just haven't found it. And, for as unreal and amazing as Leon's point streak has been, I would be happy if his point streak died and that meant that 3 or 4 other guys chipped in and were able to start their own little point streak, right? And I think Leon would probably feel the same, and that it's great, you're a goal away from 50 here, but need some help and some support with some run power. So, it's been great again that Leon has continued to push, but Tommy, it is time. It is time. And in New York, Sunday evening, great place to play a hockey game at Madison Square Garden. Somebody else, please. Just have a night. Just do something offensively. Chip in.
Step up like Matt Cassian at the Bell Center on a 2-goal night on Carey Price. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to. You got to.
Yeah, exactly. It is Game Changers with our game analyst, Matt Cassian. Game Changers, as always, brought to you by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Tom Gazzola, Cass with you, as well as Hernan, Salas. Point number 1 was, I'm not desperate, you're desperate. Point number 2, Leon's Landscaping, a.k.a. / my fingers hurt. And point number 3, Foxy.
Yeah, Adam Fox returns back into the lineup. I guess that was yesterday against the Columbus Blue Jackets for the New York Rangers. And I mean, Tom, he's a fantastic player. He is a fantastic player. Now, I don't think he has had the season that he has hoped for, but he's a guy that can play. And, if we look at this New York Rangers team, particularly on the power play, which is one of the huge areas they've struggled in this year, their power play has been not very good by their standards, but you've also missed a good chunk of time with Adam Fox, who does instantly make their power play much, much better. He's a highly skilled defenseman, sneaks into the zone quite well, loves jumping into the rush, and can drive a lot of offense. And if we have seen something the last month from the Edmonton Oilers, defensemen that jump into the rush can cause all kinds of issues for Edmonton because their sort outs on line rushes against in the defensive zone have been absolutely atrocious. And so even more tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, with Adam Fox being back in for now his second game, get his legs back underneath him. That awareness that you have to have coming back into your own zone, I think it's got to be way higher because it hasn't been very good. Gaps have been soft. Defensemen have been too far into the zone, giving up the zone too easy. Forwards haven't backtracked well enough, or they've backtracked to the wrong areas and left players open in the slot. It just has been an ugly performance quite frequently for line rushes against and defense. And the Oilers know it. They know they've been sloppy in that area. And you're going to have a little bit of a test here tonight against the New York Rangers because they do have defensemen like Fox that are going to jump in and try to really challenge you there. So, a hugely important game for the sort outs, for the defensive group, but for the forwards as well. Again, just making sure that on your backtracks, you are aware of who and where on the ice is for the New York Rangers, their players, because you don't want to end up, you just kind of end up in Sucksville again because you all pushed over to one side and left someone alone in the slot, because we've seen that happen way too much. No, never.
We haven't seen that at all. I like that. Nope. Sucksville. Sucksville.
Yeah.
Get me out of here. So we could quote Happy Gilmore all day.
Yeah, we could.
Oh, I love that reference. Well, now your back's going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller is so good in that movie. And sounds like he's back for Happy Gilmore, too. I'm looking forward to that movie. Cass, fantastic as always by Fred. We look forward to touching base with you on the post-game show.
Sounds good, Tommy.
I love it. There you go. There is Game Changers with Matt Cassian. Some good references in there. Indeed. I saw a couple of texts people were saying via the nasty chat. I'll go to D-Rock says, McDavid needs a big game. Sal says, McDavid 5 points tonight. Nick Son says, LFG Oilers. And then some cardigan and sweater chatter in there as well. Keep those texts coming in. 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat as we're doing on this lovely casual Sunday. A little bit chilly out in Edmonton today, but spring is right around the corner, and so too are the warmer temperatures. Colin Stevenson will be joining us shortly as the Oil wind down a 4-game road trip for the Rangers. They're kicking off a 4-game homestand. They've got the Oilers tonight. Then they get Calgary, Toronto, and Vancouver. So this entire homestand for the Rangers against Canadian teams. They get 2 from the Pacific, 3 from the Pacific Division, and then sandwich the Leafs in there as well. X-Ray J says, afternoon, nasties, Tom, Matt Cassian, Hernan, Salas, all the rest of the beauties at Edmonton Sports Talk. X-Ray J, big thank you to everyone who came out on Friday night for our fundraiser and watch party at Boston Pizza Westgate, raising funds for the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Well job to everybody who was there. All right. You can text us if you're listening on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. 780-218-9999. If you're watching on YouTube, get into the nasty chat. And we are rolling along as we get set for the Oilers and the Rangers at MSG. And from New York, it is Colin Stevenson from Newsday covering the Rangers. Colin, welcome back to Edmonton Sports Talk. Thanks for hopping on the pregame show today. Listen, Rangers, back-to-back wins. They hold down the final wildcard spot in the East. Would you say that this Rangers team is starting to find its game?
You know, you'd like to think that, but you know, there's still so many games left, and it's not like they've separated themselves here. They're in a playoff spot, but it's momentary. I mean, if they lose to the Oilers, you know, tonight, you know, that could go away very, very quickly. It's a 1-point lead they have over Montreal, and Montreal has a game in hand. So it is, you know, talking to the guys after they beat Columbus, it was like, listen, there's no time to relax now. It's, you know, every game is a playoff game. We've just got to keep going. So, you know, nothing's settled yet. We'll just we'll keep watching.
It's been an interesting, let's call it a ride to watch from afar, because last year this was a President's Trophy winning team. I described them as like the least respected President's Trophy winning team in a little while, but they still did it. They had a tremendous season. And then this year, it just seems like it's been a roller coaster ride of a journey. Like, what has it been like being in and around this group this year with all the craziness that seems to have happened?
It's, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, like, I can't believe that, you know, this team won the President's Trophy last year and has been struggling so much this year. But, you know, they probably were almost certainly were overachievers last year in winning the President's Trophy. It was Laviolette's first year on the job, and I think guys were buoyed by him coming in, and they bought into everything, and everything was new, and they had this 1-3-1. It was really cool, and they were forcing people to turn the puck over in neutral zone, and they had this man-to-man defense, which was different than they'd ever played, and it was all new, and it was all good, and a bunch of people had career years. I mean, Alexis Lafreniere clearly had a career year. You know, Artemi Panarin had a career year. So, you know, a lot of things went right for them. And this year, people kind of came back to earth, I guess, a little bit, which probably was to have been expected. But, you know, there was more to it. You know, like I actually wrote an early story, a pregame story today, and it was really in Edmonton where things started to go south for them back in November. They were 12-4-1. They had won the first 2 games of the road trip in Seattle and Vancouver, and then they went to Calgary and lost a game that they weren't happy with, and then they went to Edmonton and got like trounced, and that kind of started them on the tailspin there, and it's been a struggle to get back to the playoffs. You know, I've always believed that, you know, if you win the President's Trophy last year, you should be good enough to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
But it's been a grind, man. It really has.
That was a 5-game losing streak too. That run, like you said, started in Calgary.
Yeah.
They didn't snap out of it till they beat Montreal on home ice, and yeah, that 6-2 game here in Edmonton was certainly a part of it. All right, Colin. looking at how things have gone, I mean, they traded Trouba, and obviously that sounded like that was not a peaceful relationship, and they get him out of here.
No.
And is this all on Chris Drury, or is anyone more at fault than anyone else? Like, how would you pinpoint this from what you've seen and heard?
Well, so I think there's been a problem with the core. The core's a veteran core now, and we kept thinking of them as a young group. They were young a couple of years ago. I think they're pretty veteran now. If you look at what they've done, they've chased off a couple of different coaches, right? I mean, David Quinn was the guy who was hired to start the rebuild, and he was going to be the groomer and leader of young men, and he was going to, teach all these guys how to play. And, they had enough of him, and then they moved on. They forced him out. Then they brought in Gerard Gallant, who was the complete opposite. Was kind of a laissez-faire coach and let the players kind of do what they were going to do. Then they realized, I guess, that they felt like they needed to be coached up a little bit more. And so they, got rid of him. And now they brought in a guy who, for a year anyway, coached them the right amount and everything was perfect. And now they seem to be, getting a little tired of him, I guess, or he's become less effective in his second year. So you do have to wonder if it's as much the players as it is Drury. But having said that, there are things that I would question Drury on as well. I mean, he's remade the team in season. I think he's a guy who's he makes a lot of small talk, and he's a nice enough guy to talk to. But then he does some stuff that really rubs some of these players the wrong way. I think getting rid of Barclay Goodrow in the manner that he did, not so much that he moved on from him. He was a big salary, and they needed some salary cap relief. But in the manner that they got rid of him, I think really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And then that memo that he sent out to everybody after the Edmonton loss, actually, where he was like, "Oh, I'm open for business," and Trouba and Chris Kreider are on the block. I'll trade these guys. That didn't go over very well. That kind of was not well received, I suppose, in the locker room. So I mean, he's done some things that have rubbed some people the wrong way, but ultimately, he's gotten them in a position now. I mean, the guys that he's brought in, not sexy names. Will Borgen's not a sexy name, certainly. Urho Vakanainen is not a sexy name. But those guys have been steady, good defensemen. They've helped improve them at the defensive end. And obviously getting JT Miller was a big get for him. And, Mika Zibanejad was not having a great year. And since JT Miller's come along, I think Mika's been moved to the wing a little bit. And he and JT Miller have played on the same line. And that's done wonders for Mika. Mika's sort of looks revived, and I don't know if there's pressure off his shoulders or what, but he's playing much better. And if Mika is more effective than he was, for the first half of the season, then I think that this is a much better team, and I think that's kind of what's happened. So we'll see. There's more work to do in the summer. I mean, we'll see what he's going to do with Chris Kreider. I mean, clearly the relationship there is not great. Yeah. He does still have a year on his contract, and so we'll see what he does with him. We'll see what happens with Panarin, who's got a year left on his contract. So, there are moves to still be made. We'll see if the coach comes back. I suppose it depends if the team doesn't make the playoffs. I don't know if the coach comes back. So I mean, there are things that Chris Drury is going to have to do over the summer, and I think this will be a big summer for him.
Yeah, and that's a good reminder how quickly things can change in the National Hockey League. As Colin Stevenson's with us here from Newsday covering the New York Rangers. If this Rangers team does make the playoffs, like we were saying earlier, they do have that last wild card spot in the East as of right now. Could it be a sleeper pick to maybe make I guess we'd call it a Cinderella run to the Cup final? What would you say to that?
Well, I'm one of these people who believes that if you have great goaltending, anything is possible. So, as long as they have Igor Shesterkin, as long as he's healthy and playing well, I think they have a chance to beat anybody. And then it becomes a matchup thing, right? I mean, right now, I suppose they'd probably play Washington in the first round. Washington's handled them pretty good this season.
Yeah.
Washington, I don't know if they came out of nowhere exactly, but I don't think any of us expected Washington to be as good as they are this season. They made some improvements to the roster, and they've kind of surprised everybody. But I do think that the Rangers swept them last year. It's a different team. Two different teams, actually. But I think if you get Shesterkin in a 7-game series and he's playing well and at the top of his game, I think you can beat anybody. So, yeah, I do think that if they get in, if they're healthy and if Igor Shesterkin is playing well, then, yes, they can beat anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if they would win a round or two.
Colin, that's a great point about Shesterkin, because just if you look at his numbers, you're reading the game notes, getting ready for today.
Great, right?
Yeah, exactly. 23, 22, and 4. His goals against average 279. He does have the 907 save percentage, but we had Matt Cassian.
Kind of pedestrian.
Yeah, exactly. Cassian's our game analyst, and he used a term where he brought up Shesterkin's extension, and he goes, I wonder if he's just thinking to himself, I'm good. And is just kind of coasting. You're around them. You talk to these guys. Like, why? What is happening with Shesterkin? Is it all on him? Like, those numbers, like you said, pedestrian. That shouldn't be the way it is.
No. It's clearly not all on him. I mean, their defense has been, atrocious at times. I mean, there are nights when, they talk about it's. Save percentages, it can be deceiving because it's the quality of the shot, right? I mean, if, you expect a guy to save, 91% or whatever, but if these shots are super high quality shots from, where he doesn't have a chance on it, then this percentage is going to be lower. Right. So I think that I would put more of it on the, the defensive structure and the players, and, maybe they're not physical enough, or maybe they don't get the puck out of their own end well enough and efficiently enough. So there's that, but no, clearly he hasn't been spectacular. He's been decent. Good even, but, no, you expect a guy like him, he's, a 907 save percentage is below where you expect him to be. I mean, his career number is 919. So, I mean, you expect him to be over 910. You expect him to be 915, maybe 920-ish. Mm-hmm. And 907 is not where you expect him to be. That said, I mean, he's coming off a shutout last night. He's playing again tonight. And his last, 5 or 6 starts. I mean, he's his numbers are getting quite, better. I mean, he's 2-1-2, I guess, in his last 5 starts, and his numbers are pretty good over these last 5. But he didn't have to work very hard against Columbus. I don't think Columbus was very good last night. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see if he's up to the task here tonight and up to the test against McDavid and Draisaitl and the big boys.
Hey, a spotty defense is something that has plagued the Edmonton Oilers all season long as well, in front of both of their goalies. So we know all about that. Here, Shesterkin, just his 3rd game against Edmonton over the course of his career. He's 29 years old, 1-1 versus the Oil. Thus far, we're joined by Colin Stevenson from Newsday. Talk about the Rangers heading into tonight's matchup. We know the PK is excellent, Colin, for this New York team. But when the Rangers are on top of the game, what else are they doing really, really well?
Well, the PK is excellent, and we'll see. It's been a little more than a week since they traded Ryan Lindgren, who was, their number 1 defenseman on the PK. So now you're sort of bringing new guys in. I mean, Keandre Miller has stepped up and he's taken a lot of ice time. He's drawing matchups. He and Will Borgen have become a matchup pair where they go up against everybody's number 1. So the PK, even though there have been some changes, like they've incorporated JT Miller now into the forward rotation on the PK. So they've been able to make some changes and still be good. Now the power play, on the other hand, has really been struggling. They were 2 for 26, I think, while Adam Fox missed 8 games. Came back last night. They were, I think, 0 for 1 maybe. So nothing too crazy, but they're in a struggle now. They're below 20%. They're 19% for the season. That's not where you expect them to be. They have had a group together with Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider at net front and Fox at the point. That's been together for a number of years. Trocheck was in there. He's off now. He's been replaced by JT Miller. The power play needs to do more than it's been doing. I mean, it's been struggling, and if the power play doesn't get going, then I mean that's the thing that had made them. That's probably the biggest factor that made them win the President's Trophy last year was they were so good on the power play. They were so good on special teams, and people will say that the playoffs it's that your special teams don't carry you in the playoffs, but they certainly do in the regular season, though they can. And that's the thing I think that they're missing right now. That's the one piece that they need to, to crank that up. Now, they did get Adam Fox back last night. He missed 8 games, as I said. Came back, looked good, played 20 minutes. So, we'll see how he looks in the back-to-back and how he looks for the remaining 15 games. But, they've whatever they got to do, they got to find a way. They've got to become better on the power play. They can't be going 2 for 27.
Yeah, one goal on the power play in the last 7 games, mirroring the time that Fox is away. So that's got to get better. Like you said, hey, Colin, thank you for the time. Thank you for the scoop on the Rangers. We're looking forward to seeing what happens tonight. And anytime the Oilers are at MSG, it's always a treat. Really appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll have to do it again. Colin Stevenson from Newsday. Great stuff there. You guys had him on earlier in the year, didn't you? You and Joaquin Gager? Or you and Joaquin, sorry, yes. Nancito. And that was when it finally started snowing, wasn't it, too?
Yeah, and he was with some co-workers there. And
everybody was cold.
Everybody was cold.
Yeah.
Snowing, and they were taking videos. We were just laughing. It was a great time. It was, he was great.
He was
great
awesome.
Interview.
Way back when? Back in November.
Way back when. Yeah, when there was a lot of hope.
Hey, it's going to be okay. I was just going to say big thank you to Colin for hopping on. I really appreciate it. We've got some updates you want to get to?
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Ding, 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 ding. Zach Hyman is out of the lineup. So the Oilers will roll out McDavid with Henrique and Kapanen. I would have told you 5 years ago Henrique in 2025 would be playing with Henrique and Kapanen. You probably would have punched me in the face, Tommy. Unreal. Draisaitl with Perry and Brown. Podkolzin with RNH and Arvidsson. Jeff Skinner with Janmark and Max Jones.
Okay.
There you have it. I mean, why not give Skinner a bump there?
I don't even know anymore.
He has 1 goal since January 1st and is a -17.
Who are we talking about?
Kapanen,
yeah. Yeah, he's a team worst, -17.
Watch him score now and just think it to good old Hernan.
Well, how about Connor Brown ruining our parlay of nobody getting points on the Oilers? What, $120? That
was pretty fun.
Unbelievable. Text us 780-218-9999. Stu Skinner and Igor Shesterkin are your goalies. If you're wondering about that defense for the Oilers, Wallman with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Emberson, Nancito. We have a few minutes left before we hand things off to the game because people will be watching it before we reconvene on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Anything come in via the text line or the inbox? I wasn't tracking it too closely while we had Colin on there.
Yeah, this one says 12 of 16, nothing less than 10 wins. We're talking about what's kind of the record you want to see the Oilers have in their possible in their last 16 games. So how many possible wins? Sorry. Naughty Possum says 12 wins possible. Looking forward at schedule. Lots of winnable games.
Yes.
This one says, hello, gents. We need a big win tonight with a complete team game for forwards, defense, and goaltending. Then he says, sadly, I lost my final game in the tourney 2-1. Super fun to play outside of the fact that the flu was hitting me hard. That's from Stanley in YYC. And then a lot of people are just surprised that Kapanen's getting the bump to the Oilers top line. Now, Tom, this might not last.
I'm one of those people that's surprised. I wouldn't put him up there, but I'm not an NHL coach.
You just didn't seem surprised. But,
well, I'm at the point now where I don't even believe the lines will stay the way we see them in warm-up.
Yeah,
okay. Sure.
This has nuclear option written all over it, especially when you're down Hyman, one of your better top 6 guys who's having an off year too. But that's just the reality of it. And hey, listen, maybe Kapanen goes off and chips in with a few goals. Who knows? But he is not one of the guys I would have considered putting up on that top line. But it is what it is. We're not the coach.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Exactly.
Taco texting in saying, I don't feel good about today. I don't blame you, Taco. Although, I mean, when you count these guys out, they go and they play well. When you're thinking they're going to do something good because they have been building momentum, they go and lay an egg. They're totally, it's opposite day every day. They're an enigma.
You just never know, my friend.
Yeah, I just like what Taco simply writes in. I don't feel good about today.
I don't feel good.
Signed, Taco. I don't blame you, Taco.
I think New York's playing with again, they played last night.
Mm-hmm.
They're going back to Shesterkin.
Minor travel. Columbus isn't that far from New York City.
But I still think this game is there for the Oilers. I mean, they played Friday night yesterday. Did they skate yesterday? No, they had an off day, I think.
They had an off. I think they had an off day.
Yeah, not a lot of travel for them either, right? They've been staying at the same hotel for this whole road trip. So there's no more excuses, man.
Nope.
I mean, Hyman's out. He hasn't been on top of his game either, but you need guys like Nuge and Enrique and Connor Brown, and you need all these guys, at least one of them, to help out Leon Draisaitl because he is alone out there.
100 points for Draisaitl, on the cusp of 50 goals, absolutely having a monster season. He has been Edmonton's offensive engine all season long. Yes, indeed, McDavid has been there too, but it doesn't feel like a typical McDavid type year where he's just willfully toying with teams. Sometimes he's had some moments. Somebody was asking me over the weekend, I think Friday night, what's up with McDavid? He must be hurt. He must be sick. I know Stauffer mentioned something on the broadcast. McDavid wasn't feeling great or something along those lines. Sure, like guys get nicked up throughout the season, right? The other thing too is we're not talking about two guys that are playing 20 minutes a night. We're talking about two guys who are playing 24, 25 minutes a night. Plus, for McDavid, Four Nations face-off and this and that. An extra 5 minutes every night, that'll wear on a guy, even if he's 28, 29 years old and in the prime of his career. That's a lot to carry around. And that burden of scoring the goals, providing the offense when there is no support. Really, there has been no support this season from the other guys.
Shaggy's not having it. He says Oilers always have time for excuses.
Yeah, they do. I'm not disagreeing with Shaggy.
I mean, if you're tired or you're fatigued, do the Ekholm. Ask for a game off.
Take a whole trip off. Whatever.
If you're hurting the team, but you still don't want to sit out, and it's Connor McDavid we're talking about here. Like he's best player in the world, but he's been off since the Four Nations. And this is crazy to say, Tom, because he still has points, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like the plus minus is not good for him. It's just not happening. And now he's playing with Enrique and Kapanen. And listen, he's not going to go out there and be like, I can't believe I'm playing with these two guys. But deep down inside, I want to assume that Connor's like, really? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, come on, man. Enrique and Kapanen are his line mates today. Let that sink in.
Yeah, well, for how long we'll see.
Yeah.
Right? Like we look at them and go, I guess so. Yeah, sure, whatever. Well, that'll change, I'm sure, 8 minutes into the game.
They'll score tonight. Watch it.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I'm looking at the inbox and Joelle, wherever the hell Joelle has been for the last little while, she's been MIA. She just writes in a real cluster expletive, all caps. Joelle, how are you? Welcome back. I hope you're good. Came in with some heat on that one. Mike at Thunder Bay also texting in says, I think every fan watching today is just hoping for one Draisaitl goal. Oilers win 1-0. I don't think that win the other night on Long Island, it was more of a relief than a confidence builder.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we had Reed on. Who else do we have on? Reed and Cass?
And Cass?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the general consensus was like, hey, good for you, but that game didn't give you a lot of confidence.
Nor should it.
Forward. Like they needed overtime against a team that can score and it's not going to go to the playoffs. They have an excellent goaltender, sure, but man, that game I don't think built a lot of confidence for anyone. People are just like, "Hey, it's 2 points. Let's just take it."
Yeah, basically. This is one of 7 games on the schedule. Let's get you up to speed really quickly on what else happened around the National Hockey League. Couple of games in the books already. Detroit doing the Oilers a favor, blanking the Golden Knights 3-zip at Little Caesars Arena. And then what was a pretty exciting back-and-forth game. Mikko Rantanen's return to Colorado as a member of the Dallas Stars now. 4-3, the Avs win it over the Stars. Nate just scored. Rantanen was getting in on the offense, but the Avs ultimately win it. That could be a first-round preview, by the way. What a series, though. Oh. Those 2 teams, one of them is out after the first round. Incroyable.
And then it's easy peasy for the Oilers.
Well, take advantage for crying out loud. Islanders welcome in the Panthers. Blues get the Ducks. Canucks welcome in Utah. And Seattle faces Winnipeg. That's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Big thank you to Colin Stevenson from Newsday giving us the scoop on the Broadway Blue Shirts. Thank you as well to everybody who listened. iHeart, TuneIn, Apple Music, Amazon Music, EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player, and everybody who watched on YouTube. You guys are the best. Again, thank you to everybody who came out, supported the Heavy Hockey Showdown over the weekend, and all of the money and funds raised for SACE, Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Absolutely tremendous. And for Hernan, Salas and Matt Cassian, I'm Tom Gazzola saying we'll see you after the Oilers against the Rangers. Ciao for now.